And I'm back. Okay. I think this might work better this time. Okay, so, hey, I have returned. I just moved into a different room, so. Huh? Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, I'm hoping that Tommy Robinson gets into office tomorrow and that at some point in the future he becomes the prime minister of the United Kingdom because I think he will make a good uh, partner for us and will guide the UK in a direction that I think we all sort of need to go collectively. Um, I don't. I'm not as outspoken maybe as he is, but I'm certainly in agreement with everything he says, and I would take what he's saying and apply it to America, and indeed even more so because I think if America is doing well, then it's better for the whole world, and I would definitely be like an American equivalent of Tommy Robinson, perhaps, or the other way around. I don't know, but we'll definitely, if we get to work together, make a good partnership in terms of how we work together on things, especially in relation to immigration. I mean, the UK is a mess. They've got refugees, quote, kind of trying to take over their country and push out the native population. And a government that doesn't really care and is indeed actively trying to replace the indigenous population with foreigners so they can have more votes and more, I don't know, taxable income or something coming into the country. A lot of it is Muslim, yes. They're trying to replace the indigenous voters with people from Muslim countries who will then vote for them. And I mean, I don't blame those people necessarily for coming in. I blame the government for facilitating that and indeed actively making that, creating that situation. And they need to have a government in place that is more proactive in terms of protecting the people who belong in the country. And that's not, you know, when you get a situation where you have that sort of like cultural clash, it creates a bad situation for everybody. And the people who are native to the place feel like they're being replaced, which they're trying to do that. And the people who are new to the place feel like they're not being treated fairly and justly. And the real problem is not either side of that argument. The real problem is the policies of the government that creates that situation. And I just don't believe personally that that Muslims and people from, a European Christendom culture are really that I don't know what would be helpful. Maybe what would be helpful if we can make sure some provide some assistance, making sure that their election isn't rigged against a candidate like Tommy, or indeed Tommy, um, can actually be heard and not, suppressed. The actual people of Canada get. I just don't believe Islamic and Christendom cultures to blend together, and that's always been the case for anything else in a society that a a major you know I'm not I definitely don't want to see that happen to anyone, any country, to be forced to force an entire society to accept um, you know thecal ideology as the way of life. you know I think that should never happen. So yeah, I think Muslim people should probably stay in Muslim countries if they want to convert or whatever, or they want to not practice. Then you know maybe we can consider welcoming them into Western culture. But I just don't believe that that's what, for instance, our founding fathers intended in the United States. I don't believe that they envisioned a U.S. that was anything other than Christian oriented. And it's evident to me from study of the founding documents and the indeed theological study. Like I've studied every single religion there is, you guys. I've studied. I am in fact a religious, scholar. I'm an ordained minister, so I kind of know what I'm talking about. I went through years of research and study when it comes to religion and theology and ideology, and um, I've always been very politically aware, and uh, yeah, and I just know that I mean, I can't prove it to you. I can't convince you, but I would encourage anybody to study the Bible and research and learn about the Quran, learn what it says in there, study other things, study, Buddhism, Hinduism, look at what the Mormons have to say, look at any of this stuff, and then read our founding documents, you know, read the writings of the founding fathers. You'll see very clearly that they intended for a society with freedom of religion, with a specific definition of freedom to practice their belief without being imposed upon by external forces like the Church of England, for instance, who always try to convert British subjects without being imposed on by Islam, by uh, the Jewish traditions, the Catholic Church. They didn't want any of that stuff. Or at the very least, you know, it was to be some of it, not all of it. Some of it was to be tolerated under certain circumstances, like they couldn't force people to convert. And and this kind of thing. And I don't think they really wanted Islam in America at all. I don't think they wanted Judaism in America at all, frankly. I don't really, they really had a problem with the Catholic Church even for a very long time until later when, a lot of like Irish people came to America who were Catholic and Italians, and then it was gradually accepted into America. But before that, Catholicism was very much viewed as like a hostile force to the United States. And our documents haven't changed. It's just their people's attitudes have changed. But we're getting away from what the founding documents have kind of laid out for us. And I'm just advocating, because of the fact that people like me, for instance, and there are many people like me who literally have nowhere else to go at this point other than the United States. That we be more vigilant about protecting our basic Bill of Rights and the rights contained therein. Because it's really America is really still one of the few countries where we can be free to practice or not practice our belief or lack thereof. Yeah, I don't know what would happen if we were to say, if America were say to like arm Tommy Robinson and his supporters. Might cause very serious problems in the UK, but I mean, I don't know. I think our government should be kind of more proactive in backing candidates like Mr. Robinson, or showing support for the fact that like these are candidates yeah, who are actually trying to like help their people in their country, and not be a part of a voter replacement agenda, which is happening not just in the States and America, but around the world. Uh, Voter replacement agenda, you guys look this up because this is real stuff. They're trying to push everybody out and put in, well-meaning but basically ignorant migrant populations all over the place so that they can undermine um, voter demographic and set up these little basically kingdoms that are then controlled by people pulling the strings, the money strings, and this kind of thing. Well, I don't. Yeah, I see Sharia law as definitely problematic, but I think there are bigger problems that we're not. A lot of us are not seeing the bigger picture, and that is the simple fact that there's a third force at work pitting people against each other. But what we really need to do is, you know, understand that we're different, that Christianity and Islam are fundamentally different and at odds with each other. So rather than continuing this back and forth kind of tension, or indeed violence and fighting and everything that happens inevitably when you get people who believe one thing about God and people get another thing about God in the same space. What really needs to happen is we need to understand that there's a third force at work, um, pitting the two against each other. And that's the real problem that we need to all address. And, I personally would not have a problem with Muslims if they were to leave me alone and stop making me feel threatened and unsafe and like I'm going to be attacked or hurt, because I wish them nothing but um, good things in life as individuals, as human beings. And I think it sucks that their belief system teaches them certain things about people who are different than them. But I think we need to help them understand that, we don't want to fight with them. Like, but, if you attack us, we're going to defend ourselves. So they need to stop attacking us. And and the people who are pitting us against each other, and perhaps even to some extent performing false flag attacks while pretending to be Muslims, which I'm sure it happens. We need to look much more closely at that and realize that that's probably a bigger problem than the difference between Islam and Western culture. Like, I think, if Muslims just stayed in Muslim countries and Westerners stay in Western countries and we leave each other alone, don't bother each other, maybe down the line we can learn more about each other and work towards a better understanding and working way of doing things. Um, but we need to realize that we have collective, like common things that are affecting both of us. Hmm. Yeah, and I don't like war, you guys. I hate war. I mean, war is like the last. It should never in the 21st century get to the point of where there needs to be a war over anything, because we have all the tools at our fingertips with which to solve problems. We can communicate to anybody on the planet by means of electronic communication. People from There was a guy from Israel on here earlier, and we were all in the same chat room talking about basic stuff that concerns all of us. But like, this is we've never lived in a time period as interesting as this, I don't think. I mean, not if we did, it was before recorded history. Um, so we can work this stuff out by communication and understanding, but we have to understand that some people don't want that to happen. Like, for instance, my previous live stream was, you know, frozen and blocked, and like they're not allowing me. So somebody out there or some group out there doesn't want people like me to be able to communicate to anybody. Like, I'm banned from Facebook. I'm banned from probably other places on the internet. There are people who are much more outspoken than I am who are completely censored and banned and shut down from any any number of places. And like, this is the real issue. They don't want people talking or communicating, and um, they don't want people listening. They don't want people learning. They just want control and to silence anything that doesn't agree with the prescribed narrative. And that's where we need to not let them win. We need to stop that, and we need to make sure that that doesn't ever happen. I don't think the CIA itself is necessarily the problem. I think the people, uh, yeah, I think people working in the CIA are the problem, part of it. I think people working in the FBI are part of the problem. I think people working in all parts of our government are part of the problem. The NSA, um, I mean, the CIA does a lot of good too. So it comes down to people and where is their loyalty actually. And, you know, I think there are people from all kinds of backgrounds, you guys, who are loyal to what is good and right, and then there are people who are from all kinds of backgrounds who are just not. So it's a matter of figuring out like who's actually on the side of what's right and good, and making sure that those people get the opportunity to really take hold of the steering wheel. You know what I mean? And make sure the bus is big enough for anybody who wants to get onto it. Um, and if anybody doesn't want to be on the bus, you just throw them right off. You know what I'm saying? Hold on, I'll be right back. Just a second. A glass of water. Getting a little thirsty here. Okay. What are we doing? What are we doing, guys? All right. Or, um, because I think that will be good for not just the UK, but for America, because we will have a definite, ally there in terms of what we need to work on together. And that will help the entire world, probably, in some way. And, I think Tommy, although he lacks in certain information, probably, and I don't necessarily agree with him on every single thing. I think I could definitely see myself working closely with someone in the future if I end up being it. And, you know, improving things. Um, I think he has a lot of the right information, and I think maybe he doesn't have all the information, but I can help him with that. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, so that was it. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. But Another thing I guess that's been on my mind today is Bitcoin, and I'm going to do everything I can to sort of help that get started because I've done my homework about the Bitcoin, and I think it's a really good alternative form of currency to the any currency that we have, and even any sort of you know commodity like gold or silver. It's just more secure, um, much harder to steal. It's very anonymous, and it seems like a really good investment. I mean, I've studied and traded stocks in my life, and I've never seen anything as promising as Bitcoin in terms of where I think it's going to go. I don't think Bitcoin is going to be regulated because it's impossible to regulate. It's just like it's like regulating you know regulating the ocean. You can't really do that. It's not possible. I mean, you can't kind of regulate how the wave is going to crash against the ocean. You know what I mean, or against the beach. I think Bitcoin is literally like that in terms of it's just an unstoppable force. Um, it's still, I believe, very much in its infancy, and already it's done really well in terms of um, its intended purpose and the goal that it's trying to achieve, which is probably to bring. I don't know who invented it. I don't know that person. They used the name not Satoshi Nakamoto, but like I think whoever invented it had the intent of trying to bring about the end of uh, central banking and a you know controlled financial system that basically makes us all into slaves. And I think it's doing that, and I think it will do that. It'll inevitably replace the dollar. We'll probably still use the dollar, but I don't think it will be nearly as important as it is now in terms of uh, currency and in terms of transactions and using it for anything. I think the dollar will take second place in America to the Bitcoin, and I think you're going to see in a few years when a single Bitcoin will probably be worth $1 million within a very short time, like 20 by 2021. I'm guessing. I think Bitcoin will be worth $1 million by 2021. And normally, that might seem insane, since it's only like hovering around 8,000 right now. At its high, it's been just under 20,000. But if you chart the the rate of growth that it's had based on that rate of growth since its inception, it's went up and down, went up and then it's like a and it's like right about here right now. It's at its previous growth rate, it's going to end up about here before long. When the high was about down here, looking at the chart, it was like here, went, and then went, and then went, and now it's like, but it's like probably before the end of this year, going to end up about here somewhere, in my opinion. Hi, Sardusiu. No, I am not kidding. I mean, why would I kid about that? It's not something worth joking about. Yes, I can remote view. It's an ability that I've had since I was a child. And yeah, I don't do it as a parlor trick though or something. So if you're going to ask me to remote view something, I'm probably not going to do that because it makes me very tired at this point in my life. I'm 44 and it does require, you know, effort. No, I just told you. I don't need to do that, so I'm not going to do it. It makes me very tired. How about you go lift 250 pounds of weights and prove to me that you can do it? Okay, then. Go read the declassified CIA documents on Mars remote viewing. Um, I helped make those documents. There's your proof. Okay. I'm not going to exhaust myself every single day just because somebody asks me to prove that, which happens all the time now. I'm not going to do that. So if anyone out there has it in their mind to ask me to prove something to them like that, I'm not here for that purpose. So, okay. hmm Um, I can do other things like what's called astral projection. I can do that kind of stuff too, but it's exhausting, you guys. It's stuff like that that killed Edgar Casey, who was Edgar renowned a, a person renowned for his parapsychological abilities, and he used to use them way too much, and it killed him. So I'm not going to do. What do I know about Venus? It's a planet. It's the second planet from the sun. It's really hot. This is my kids are learning this in grade school right now, so they keep telling me that. That's what I know about Venus. I've never been to Venus. I don't know. It's really hot. We can't really go there. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of perhaps other dimensional life there. But as far as like three-dimensional intelligent or any life, I would say it's probably not possible because it's so damn hot. Um, that's just what I know from my kids who tell me that Venus is really hot. Is there life in the sun? Can life exist inside the sun, or is it too hot? Perhaps other dimensional life could exist in the sun or near the sun, even, but like, I don't know. I mean, I suppose that, there are other dimensions, so yeah. Well, we all have other dimensional aspects to our existence that we just aren't necessarily aware of. I mean, like you have the ability to access higher dimensions. Um, it's easier for some than others, but we all have the ability. But if you do it too much, it's very tiring. Like it's exhausting, in fact. So I try not to do that as unless I absolutely have a reason to. Mhm. So yeah, okay, that's no problem. Um, I do know that Mars is inhabited because I've been to Mars. There's life there. I've talked about it extensively in previous videos and radio broadcasts. And I think there are about 1 million newspaper articles now about the same video I made for Apex TV on YouTube, which talks about that, and the news articles talk about that. So if you just Google Michael Macintosh Mars or something like that, I'm sure you'll find what I've had to say about life on Mars and my experiences there. But I'm not talking about that right now. I was talking about Bitcoin and the tomorrow's UK vote. But I'm also looking forward to the visit of Donald Trump to Ireland because I will be in Ireland for that. Um, that's very exciting to me as a person with both US and Republic of Ireland citizenship. It'll be really cool, actually. My family's from Ireland, you guys. Okay, you too. Sarduccio. What kind of name is that? Sounds either, I can't tell if it's Japanese or Italian. Sarduccio. Sounds Italian, but the last name sounds Japanese. Sutidu. Are you Italian and Japanese? So yeah. But back to Bitcoin. I don't know. Do you think it's possible to regulate Bitcoin at all, or just hope that it can be taxed somehow? I think any government is basically just hoping and praying that they can tax it somehow or another because, like, people are literally at this point using Bitcoin, probably, I would assume, to hide their money from the government. And you know, I don't think they're going to have an easy time enforcing any kind of taxation on it, and that might be a problem for some of the governments, uh, probably for a lot of them, because you know it's totally anonymous. Therefore, how can you know if people even have any? You can't. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they're going to approach that. Um, I don't know, you guys. I mean, if I'm going to be president when Bitcoin takes off, that's going to be really fascinating because government needs taxes, unfortunately. People have to pay taxes somehow for the government to exist. And if the government can't tax people somehow, then the government has a very difficult time existing. So I don't know how that's going to happen, how it's going to work. It's going to be an interesting challenge, certainly, for anyone working in government to, provide service to the people if there's no way to fund that, or if there's a really if it's difficult to fund that. I don't know though. I presume that there's a solution to that somewhere. I don't know what that is yet, but I guess we'll see. Um, yeah, I don't have anything else to say right now though, other than Tommy Robinson. If you get a chance to watch this video, um, I hope you do well, and I'm looking forward to maybe working with you in the future. And I'm with you. I'm probably even more so. You're gonna have a hard time being with me, I think, honestly, because I might be, I might have the tendency to be more reactionary, if you know what I'm saying. So, yeah, but you give us all, courage to stand up for what's right, and that's important. You encourage us, so thank you. It's good to finally know that there's somebody um, looking to actually help the UK who isn't, a spineless wimp or gonna, take the long, drawn out, ineffective route so that they can preserve their political career for 20, 30 years and not actually get anything done. You know what I'm saying? Believe me, I know you know what I'm saying, and I know what I'm saying. All right. Talk to you guys soon. This is Michael Macintosh. Over and out.